This is fucking nonsense. Now, I'm fully prepared to accept that I may be wrong on this, and if I am, please feel free to let me know in the comments, but surely no one is going to buy these. As we are all aware by now, we live in a disposable world. Although a convincing argument could be made for the switch to many single-use items, carrying around germ-infested handkerchiefs is disgusting, sharpening your cutthroat razor is a pain in the ass, and although purchasing reusable nappies for your baby probably works out slightly cheaper than a couple of years of disposables, actually going through the process of laundering them, not to mention the insane cost of the electricity to wash them, is pretty grim. It is grim. I've never done it, but we had friends, I told this story in a recent episode, where they were like, yeah, we're going to do the non-disposable nappies because it's going to be good for the world. That lasted like literally 2 weeks for them, and they were like, it's disgusting and bad, and no single use is the way to go here. And it's bad for the environment. There should be a solution to this. There should be a better way of doing this. Kids just be shitting all over the place. Just have them naked, just rolling around, just taking a shit wherever they want. Fine, easy. Except for the clear up. Big problem.
My house is full of shit. Look what he did. He shit all over the wall.
There are, however, some single-use products on the market that even the most ardent climate change denier and wildlife hater would brand as ridiculous. Climate change is real, but wildlife, man. I like using plastic straws because it leads to the death of dolphins. And in today's episode, we shall take a look at some of those single-use items. Coffee pods. Oh no, don't say it. I'm a big coffee pod fan. I'm like an espresso dude. I wouldn't say that I'm a coffee snob. Other people would, but I wouldn't. Yeah, no one calls themselves a snob. They kind of do. I'm a snob with some things. Having said that, I do have a few basic rules when it comes to the beverage I consume several pints of every day. Firstly, no instant coffee. While instant coffee does undoubtedly have a flavor, the flavor is not coffee and therefore should not legally be allowed to sold as such. I kind of agree, I don't mind instant coffee, but I don't see it as coffee. It's like another hot flavored beverage. Secondly, no coffee pods. Disagree. Coffee pods are extremely convenient. You can choose whatever coffee you want. It's always fresh and it's kind of perfectly made. I fucking love coffee pods. I know it's horrible with the environment or whatever, but it's just great.
How dare you?
Today's episode is brought to you by Supps. You'll often see me drinking this, like every video pretty much these days. Unless it's on my Warfronts channel when I'm talking about like serious war stuff. But on every other channel, I'll be drinking some Supps because it contains caffeine, which we all love, and it also contains delicious flavors. I don't know what flavor this is. This is the Arctic Cooler one, which despite coming in a blue box is green, and I don't know what flavor it is, but it is a delicious flavor that I love, and it's also got plenty of caffeine. I used to buy unnamed competitor drink that comes in a can, small, rectangular, maybe would make you take to the skies. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's super expensive. I'd buy it from the little store on the corner, and it would cost a fortune. And I would just go out there and buy, can, maybe 2 cans, depending on how tired I'm feeling, every day. And then Supps were like, Simon, we want to sponsor you. Stop this addiction. I mean, don't stop your addiction, just move it to us. Yes, caffeine! It's fantastic. It tastes great. It comes like this. You just, I'll just open this up. And you got this little scoop in there. You take a scoop of that. You put it in the jar, bottle, whatever. You mix it up. It's fantastic. They also make non-caffeine ones if you're a coward. I'd also drink these because sometimes I don't want to feel absolutely buzzed out of my face on caffeine. Look, go to gamersupps.gg/Blaze, use the coupon code Blaze, and you'll get 10% off Gamersupps products. gamersupps.gg/Blaze. Thank you to them for sponsoring. And now back to today's episode. These things are a f***ing swizz, and I truly do not understand how manufacturers convinced us to fall for it, because it's so easy, Dave. Look, I know I'm getting ripped off. I know it's unreasonably expensive, but it's very, very convenient. The other day I was targeted by a Facebook advert which invited me to purchase the latest pod coffee machine for £1 if I was prepared to sign up for a subscription to have a certain amount of these horrendous pods delivered every week. I think it was every month, I have one of those subscriptions, or I had, and it's fantastic. They give you the coffee, I'm an espresso person, and they were like, and I've been for a decade, they say, okay, just subscribe to this thing and we'll send you a coffee machine. So I had my old espresso machine, I got rid of it, or I went to my office, and then we got a brand new swish fancy one, and then the coffee that we were going to buy anyway just got delivered to our house every month. It was fantastic.
I'd buy that for $1.
Now, there are several reasons why I wouldn't do this. First of all, the coffee is almost without exception horrible. I large majority of these instant coffee pod machines, I agree. Like the Dolce Gusto or whatever, generally pretty bad. I think most coffee pod things are bad, but Nespresso, I like it. I'm not a coffee snob. I like coffee. I can't really tell the difference between between coffees. All I do know is that if I go to a place that is, you know, what do they call it? Don't they call it like third wave coffee? And I'm like, this doesn't taste like coffee. It tastes weird. It's like some lukewarm, milky drink. And these like fancy coffee places where they overcharge you for like a tiny little lukewarm coffee that doesn't taste like coffee, I don't like. I like Starbucks, Costa, Cafe Nero, you know, they're just not lowbrow, just regular coffee.
Cool. This coffee smells like it.
Secondly, compared to the number of cups of coffee you can get for the same price just buying beans, they are a horrendous riff-off. Thirdly, and most importantly for this video, coffee pods are a seriously unnecessary disposable resource. Yes, I know you can buy those little things that you fill up with your own coffee, but who actually does that? No one. I bought them and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to do this. And they get messy. They're kind of hard to do. It's very fiddly. No one does that. It's a waste of time. I give the same response to those who say a lot of the pods are now recyclable. Who actually does that? Totally do. They collect it when they drop the coffee off. You order new coffee from Nespresso, it comes with a free bag that you put inside the tub thing, and then when the thing is full, you put the coffee pods in there, and the Nespresso man comes, or the delivery man or whoever, he drops off your new coffee pods, and you hand him a big bag full of old coffee pods. According to Google, 56 billion coffee pods and capsules end up in landfills every year. And because Google is trying to pass itself off as more human by providing useless information rather than the information I asked for, putting them next to each other, that's 341,000 kilometers or 212,000 miles long. Oh my God, who cares? Thanks, Google. That's fascinating. Although this is undoubtedly a huge amount of waste going to landfill, I think that if I were to be honest, the main problem I have with coffee pods is they represent a step backward in coffee production. The major selling point of these machines is that you can get machine-quality coffee at the touch of a button. Unfortunately, due to the vastly inferior coffee that is included in these pods, the only way you can do this is to buy your own refillable pod and put nice coffee in it. I don't know. I like the Nespresso coffee. It tastes good to me. I'm not a snob. I just like it. It's super convenient. Tastes good. If you're going to do that, it's no longer quicker, and you might as well just use a proper machine. Vapes. I love vapes as well. I briefly used the exact product that I'm going to complain about during my transition between being a smoker and a quitter, and unfortunately, they are awesome. However, this does not change the facts. Those familiar with the world of vaping will know that there are many different products available on the market. To avoid having to write an essay on vaping, I'm going to put them into two categories: disposable and reusable. Yeah, the disposable ones that have the batteries in, that's a rip-off, and it's bad for the environment, and don't do that. If you want a vape, just get one of those, you know, the things with the screw on top, and then you just screw the little capsule that you buy, and then there's the tiny capsule that you throw away. Or get a refillable one, but those are quite messy. Now, the reusables ones are fine, I guess. It's a pain in the ass filling the tanks, replacing the coils when they burn out, etc. But most things in life come with some degree of inconvenience. Disposable vapes also have their own pros and cons. Quite high on the list of cons is that unless you're really, really lucky, the battery will run out before the fluid, which leaves you with the infuriating problem of having paid for something that you can no longer use. Fairly recently, a new style of product was released which solves this problem but causes so much unnecessary waste that I'm secretly behind the government's plans to ban them next year. The rechargeable disposable vape can contain a lot more fluid because, as the name suggests, it contains a rechargeable battery. Oh my God, that's a waste. That's such a waste. When the battery runs out, you plug it into a standard USB-C charging cable for 10 minutes and you're back in business. The problem is when the fluid does eventually run out, you're left with no other option but to throw the whole thing away. It's ridiculous, agreed. To figure out just how ridiculous, I carefully disassembled one of these devices to find out just how many times you could recharge the battery before it becomes utterly useless. After removing the heating elements from the circuit and wiring in a reasonably powerful LED, I left the LED running until the battery was completely depleted, about 2.5 hours. Then I recharged the battery and repeated the process. I don't know how many times I would have been able to do this because after 25 cycles, I got bored. However, it had more than proved my suspicions. Throwing away single-use batteries is an environmental disaster, but throwing away rechargeable batteries and charging circuits that have barely been used is utterly ludicrous. I completely agree. Just fucking buy the battery thing that you screw the top vape thing into. How hard is that?
I'm Michael Jordan. Stop it. Get some help.
Disposable mini pre-pasted toothbrush. No way. That doesn't exist. We've all been there. You're packing for holidays, trying to fit everything you'll need into one suitcase while keeping it under the maximum baggage allowance so you don't get mugged by your airline of choice. You've got spare phone chargers, one of those things that turns the scary foreign plug socket into a socket you can actually use. Twice as many clothes as you'd wear if you were staying at home, all the shoes you own just in case, a power bank with the capacity so large there's no chance you'll actually need to plug anything into the wall, and a bunch of miscellaneous bits and bobs that you'll never need on holiday. I'm not like this. I just take the absolute bare minimum. I take like a pair of underwear for every day, probably 2 little socks, and 2 little less clothes than I'd wear at home. You'll now have to choose between taking toothpaste because, holiday destinations never have anywhere you can buy anything like that. Sound familiar? No, it doesn't sound familiar to me either. However, it must be a fairly regular problem for a lot of people, or Colgate wouldn't have marketed the Colgate Max Fresh Wisp Disposable Mini Travel Toothbrushes, Peppermint 24 count, pack of 4. This exists? According to the advertisement on Amazon, this single-use brush provides the following benefits. Mini pre-pasted toothbrush, no rinsing necessary, brush your teeth on the go, anytime, anywhere, whitens teeth by removing surface stains, sugar-free, gluten-free. This is fucking nonsense. Now, I'm fully prepared to accept that I may be wrong on this, and if I am, please feel free to let me know in the comments, but surely no one is going to buy these. Yeah, if you're prepared enough to buy disposable toothbrushes, you're the sort of person who remembers to take a toothbrush on holiday, aren't you? But surely nobody is going to buy these. Surely if you're that conscientious about oral hygiene that you actually do brush your teeth after every meal, who does that? Then you're going to invest in a decent toothbrush to carry around with you. Similarly, if you want to, as one of the adverts for this product suggests, save space in your suitcase by taking these instead of a toothbrush and toothpaste, then you'd better hope you're only on holiday for 1 or 2 days. If you're going away for 2 weeks or even 1 week, taking enough of these brushes to keep up with your blistering toothbrushing regime is probably going to require another suitcase altogether. Or maybe I'm missing a trick here. Are these things amazing? What do you think, Simon? I think it's fucking nonsense, Dave. We're on exactly the same page. Disposable mobile phone. It's ridiculous. Perfect for drug dealers, though. I saved this entry until last, mainly because I received insider information that it would be featured in the thumbnail. Yeah, I came up with this topic and I was like, this would be a good thumbnail. But I would be prepared to bet on the fact that 99% of everybody watching this video owns at least one mobile phone. Of course they do. Before the comment section goes crazy, I'm using the term own fairly loosely. I'm fully aware that the majority of people get their phones through some sort of contract, and until that contract is paid off, they don't actually own the handset. Do people still do that? I thought that almost all the contracts that I see these days, maybe it's just a thing where I live, but you buy the handset and then you just continue with the contract that you've had, and you just buy the handset whenever you want. And then you just have I think my contract's like, I don't know, 15, 20 pounds a month, and I just buy the phone, which is kind of insane. The phones cost as much as a computer did a few years ago, or 10 years ago. Sorry guys, you'll have to find some other way of scratching that pedantic itch. Nowadays, as you will know, making a phone call on your own mobile phone is quite low down the list of most regularly used functions. It may come as a surprise to some of you. I'm mainly looking at people born in or after 1999, but there was once a time when all your mobile phone could do was make phone calls, and if you were stupid enough to do it, you'd be presented with a quite frankly scandalous bill at the end of the month. But what, you might be wondering, have mobile phones got to do with single-use items? Surely nobody would have ever thought a single-use mobile phone was a good idea. Sadly, I'm here to disabuse you of that comforting belief. Allow me to introduce you to the Hop-On phone. Released in 2001, Hop-On Wireless debuted their revolutionary new product, a product which incidentally turned out to be a Nokia phone with a different case on it, allegedly in everybody's opinion. Nevertheless, its inventor, Peter Michaels, thought it was great. This is what he had to say about it. Cell phones are supposed to make our lives easier, so why do wireless companies keep packing them with pricey extras like color screens, web browsers, games, and email that most people don't need? Things turned out differently then, didn't they, Michael? Now several companies are developing stripped-down single-use models targeted for casual users who just want to take a cell phone on vacation or stash one with their emergency flashlight. Oh my god, this is so old school. That's what my nan had. She just had a mobile phone that she kept in her car in case she broke down. She'd never use it. She was like, I turn it on every 6 months and make one phone call to my house phone so that they don't cancel my pay-as-you-go credits. That's all she used it for.
He's got good brains.
One of the first to market will be Hop-On Wireless. priced at $30 for 30 minutes of talk time. To keep costs down, the device, about the size of a deck of cards, contains only a quarter of the components found in a typical cell phone. It doesn't take incoming calls, and there's no keypad or display. Instead, users plug in an earpiece, included, and speak the number aloud. Voice recognition technology, pretty fancy for 2001, converts the sounds into digits and places the call. To activate the phone, users simply push the green call button. Color-coded lights indicate when the 30 minutes of prepaid talk time are running low, yellow, or out, red. The lithium-ion batteries will last for up to 2 years, so your minutes will probably run out before your batteries do. Opinions were, shall we say, divided as to whether or not this product was awesome. I mean, it's quite a good idea to, just stash one of those in your car or whatever, or just, as an emergency. I don't know, if you're going camping, just throw one in your bag, because if your phone runs out of battery or has some other sort of error, because smartphones are, smart and they can go wrong, just throw it in your bag. I think this is actually not bad.
How much are they?
Cheaper than an audit. Guaranteed.
Opinions were, shall we say, divided as to whether or not it was awesome. Personally, although I never owned one, I did own voice-activated phones during that time period, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that I would not have wanted to be reliant on such software understanding what I was saying during an emergency. For anyone old enough to remember trying to set up voice tags on a Nokia 3310, you know what I mean. Yeah, I didn't even bother to try. For those of you not old enough, search YouTube for Nokia 3310 voice tags. I'm sure there will be something amusing to bring you up to date. Even if we set aside the greatly increased probability of being murdered in your home while screaming 999 into your voice-activated earpiece over and over again, the device had several other flaws. Firstly, it was like all the other products on this list, insanely wasteful. Secondly, assuming the rumors were true and it was in fact just a Nokia circuit board inside a different plastic case, there is absolutely no reason why the charging feature could not have been included. I honestly can't remember how much a basic phone would have set you back in those days, but I imagine $30 for an absolutely no-frills device would have been a steal. They said that the circuit was the same. That doesn't necessarily mean the battery's the same, right? They could have a disposable battery powering it, which can't be recharged. Like the chemical batteries, right? Although, given that you could only top up pay-as-you-go phones via voucher back then, I imagine that having to coax the voice recognition software into correctly identifying 50 numbers in a row with no mistakes would somewhat detract from the nice warm feeling of getting a bargain. That is, of course, assuming that the device was capable of sending DTMF tones. For the non-nerds among you, yes. DTMF tones are the dual-tone multi-frequency tones that your phone sends in order to allow you to use those not at all annoying multifunctional menus that every single company seems to include on their phone systems these days. Yes, it's terrible. Still, these are far better than the digital assistant I encountered while trying to book a table at a restaurant over the phone the other day. After providing me with information I knew to be incorrect, this thing got really shitty with me when I asked to speak to a person, saying, the other members of my team have access to the same information as me and will not be able to provide you with a different answer. Nevertheless, I persisted and was eventually put to a real person. It turns out that the AI was incorrect, and the nice lady in the restaurant was more than happy to assist my query. Cue AI Charlie.
So that was a lie.
Now, if you compare it to the absolutely no sales at all that this device should have got, it actually did reasonably well, although I'd be willing to bet that somewhere in the region of 90% of units languished unused in drawers and were eventually thrown away unused many years later. Yeah, because they were intended to be an emergency device. I imagine most fire extinguishers are never used before they're thrown away, or airbags in cars are never used before the car is scrapped. I mean, hopefully. The last thing I read on the topic suggested that the company was planning to bring out a 100% recyclable version that would cost in the region of $50. This new model appears to be equally shit and was billed thusly. The stylish disposable phone is ideal for kids, teens, seniors, tourists, vacationers, business travelers, and people with credit challenges. Poor people. Hop-On's disposable cell phone called the Graffiti will be sold for under $50 through Hop-On's wholly owned subsidiary, Graffiti Wireless. Given that I had to use the Wayback Machine to extract that information from a webpage in 2007, we can at least be reasonably certain that this idea, along with the products themselves, are condemned to the rubbish bin of history. And that's where we end today's episode. I still think the mobile phone one's not bad. Wasteful, yes. Good for emergencies also, though. Not for... and drug dealers. Very useful for drug dealers. Thanks for watching. Putting them next to each other, that's 341,000 kilometers or 212,000 miles long. Oh my God, who cares? Thanks, Google. That's fascinating.